Results revenue at 3.17 billion euros, up 4.2% year over year.
Reporting third quarter sales up 4.8%. Franklin Golf Romeo.
The Fed policy will be driven by the pace of the data. Same policy will remain accommodative.
Futures off sessions low, still down about 1% on the day for a little more than 4 pennies.
Question number one is, what 5 trading books would I recommend as must-reads and why? I would pick out 5 authors that I really like and their body of work that I would recommend. The first is obviously the Market Wizard series, edited by Jack Schwager, and there are 4 of them. There's Market Wizards, New Market Wizards, Hedge Fund Market Wizards, and Stock Market Wizards. And it's a series of interviews with well-known people in the markets, traders, portfolio managers, investors. And what I love about it is that some of these people have completely different styles, completely different strategies. And you notice, they'll specialize in different products. They'll be doing completely different things, one from the other. But they also have a lot of things in common. So their advice will always be consistent. Cut losses, let winners ride, you have to stay disciplined, etc. So especially for the beginner, you get a great idea of what's out there in the markets, what kind of styles are out there, who the most famous, well-known players are, and how they've made their money. And then you can pick and choose which advice suits you, and then which advice is more general, and then which advice is definitely not for you. And I think that's a great way to get an overview of how great traders do their thing, and then also what's available in the markets. I also like all the books by Brett Steenbarger. He has written 3, The Daily Trading Coach, Enhancing Trader Performance, and Trading Psychology. And they're all excellent. And his background is as a clinical psychologist who started trading his own money and also working with traders. And you can see that he really has a holistic understanding of all of the issues involved from a psychological standpoint, from more of a market standpoint, and how they all fit together and interact. And I think what you get from his books is a real understanding of all the different interactions, and then what you can do, practically speaking, both from a psychological standpoint, from a discipline standpoint, from a methodological standpoint, to make yourself better. And I like his books for giving that overview. Another series of books I like are by Van Tharp. He is a psychologist as well, and he's been doing a lot of education with traders and investors for decades, and a lot of it is finding what works for everyone. What is universally applicable, what are some general rules, and then trying to formulate those and then pass them along. And I think that a lot of his work on position sizing, on risk management, and then on how to structure a methodology, in addition to all of his psychological work, I think is really valuable. I think the best book of his is Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom. I also like 2 other books which are not part of a series. First is What I Learned, Losing $1 Million. It's kind of a provocative title, but we can actually learn a lot from the author, who was a very successful broker, had a great business, was a very well-respected member of the commodities futures community, and then through a series of very large, very wrong investments, he lost everything. And then he went on a quest to find out what he could do better, what he did wrong, what he could learn from other successful investors. And he came to the conclusion that everyone does everything, it's all about their methodology, it's all about their own personality, but every single person has in common that they emphasize not losing. And that's when he realizes why he lost so much money, is because he didn't take small losses and he didn't focus on limiting his downside, but he was always instead thinking of how much money he could make. I think that's a great education from where we learn from someone's failure, and we really get the same education that they did, but without having to lose $1 million. Then the last book I'll highlight is The Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. This is a book from the early previous century, And it's insightful for two reasons. The first is that it's a very personal, almost biographical diary of a guy who's coming up in the markets, and all of the psychological struggles that he goes through as he learns to get tougher and stay resilient in the markets, as he develops his own style, as he becomes very successful with it in different market conditions. But the other thing is that because this book was written 100+ years ago, you learn something that you wouldn't realize, is that markets are more about different people interacting. You know, some are buying, some are selling, and a lot of the things that we may think of as unique to our time, so manias and panics and crashes and bubbles, are actually always going to be around with markets. And that's what I really enjoyed about this, is even if some of the technology is different, so instead of computers, they're using telegraphs, I think people are always the same, and that's why markets will always be so fascinating and also so challenging. So those are the 5 books that I would recommend. And then if you go through the notes in my book, you'll actually find tons of other books that I cite, and hopefully those citations will be helpful to you.